Leads don't die because they're bad leads, right? They die because they don't have good follow up.
Everyone who knows that I love finding interesting guests knows that I like guests who have very specific things that people can do to get business now. And having talked to Susan Bermudez, who's our guest today, I have so many questions for her because she has developed so many different systems that work for her, including the first one I want to start with is how she turned her entire household into a lead generation machine. So, Susan, I'm so excited to have you today. I have kids, I have a family. I need to learn from you first. Like, how did you turn your family into business generation? Like, that's just the first of many topics, but like, I'm so interested.
Well, most realtors hand you the keys and disappear, right? So my family practically becomes your emergency contact. And the reason why is that real estate doesn't really end at closing for me. It's where the relationships actually really start. So my husband's in the auto industry. My son-in-law owns an insurance agency where my son works. I'm in real estate. Our best friend, brother from another mother, he owns a AC company, and then we have contractors that are really good friends of ours, right? So they have been encompassing everything we need. So when we do real estate, you want to be the source of the source, right? And that's exactly what my family does. So, the joke is going, hey, when they work with us, they feel like they're part of the Bermudez family, which is kind of what my job is, right? Is building the relationships. This is what real estate's all about. This is how I decipher that. So, with that, and as we move, it just kind of helps clients like transition smoothly into their homes. If they need a car, don't worry about it, because guess what? I'll help you get the car. You just go directly to my husband, and no bull crap, kind of thing. You need insurance. Well, guess what? If your house is a little bit more than what you anticipated, I have somebody that does home and auto insurance. And oh, by the way, we also have another brother from another mother that does health insurance. So my job is to see how I can financially take a look at what they're doing and see how we could save money. So it's not about the house, it's about everything else, is becoming the source of the source for these clients. Where it's a one-stop shop. You need something, you need a house, you need a car, you need insurance, you need health insurance, you need a new AC, come to me. I have them all,
Well,
right?
and I think it's so interesting because, like, a lot of people that we work with in real estate, like, are moving to our area and they don't know a lot of people, so they need a resource for everything. And when you can be their go-to person for any question or connection they might need, you're obviously then going to be their connection when it comes time for real estate. Not to mention, all of these people that you're referring business to are also like super grateful to you, and so they're referring business back to you. So I joke all the time, and I think I published this years ago, but that those who refer the most get referred the most. And you are
Absolutely.
doing an amazing job of that.
Yeah, and I don't refer people because they're my family. I refer them because they take care of my clients the same way I do. So the level of expectation that I have, everybody knows what it is, and it's a one and done when it comes to any vendors that I work with. If you screw my clients one time or myself, you're off the list. I don't work with you anymore. The light switch is done, right? Because it is about taking care of our clients, and everybody that I'm around is sales driven. We all own businesses, and the businesses start with the client relationship. So making those connections and being the source of the source, having that, if you don't have that as an independent agent, it's okay. But guess what? They're all over your valley. So having that preferred network to be able to share to your clients, to be that go-to person. So guess what? There's times where people have moved in and go, oh my God, Susie, this just happened. Can you help me? Absolutely. Let me go take care of it. Because if I don't have a source, I will soon find one, and they'll become part of my source,
Well,
right?
what I love about that too is that it also sets up a different conversation that you can have as a value add during listing presentations, during buyer consults, because you have someone for everything. And although a lot of realtors probably do this without talking about it and advertising it, it's become a fundamental part of like what you pitch and what you offer when you're meeting with someone, and it really sets you apart from those you're competing against.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think as agents, when you come into there, you're not handing them a stack of business cards and say, call this person or call that person. I'm actually handing them solutions, right? So our our entire job is about how do we solve or create solutions for consumer problems, whether they're buyers, sellers, whatever that is. And that's where I begin. And I think that's a missed notion about because they're just looking at one transaction at a time. No, that's a lifelong relationship. When they say they're part of the Bermudez family, I treat them like that. So you need something, they call me. I mean, I've even got a calls from, hey, do you know anybody that does babysitting? Because they just relocated. I can figure that out for you. So I'm always top of mind on anything that they do or any needs that they have, right? So I'm constantly finding the solutions. Now, don't get me wrong, as we're solution finders and problem solvers, sometimes it extends into my family that when people tell me this, I immediately go into problem solving mode, right? So I'm like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And this, and sometimes it's like, Susie, I just need to vent, like, or mom, I don't need you to solve the problem. I just wanted to tell you about it. So sometimes it's an everyday life, so I have to step back and go, oh, you just need me to listen right now. Okay, I'm listening. I don't
Absolutely.
need to do anything. But in our business, we are built on finding solutions for our clients. So when they do joke like, hey, I feel like I'm not just buying a house from you, I feel like I'm getting adopted into the Bermudez family. Well, that's true, and that's the feeling I want everybody to know, because so many clients I've closed not only encompass my family origin, but I go hiking with them, kayaking with them. I'll invite them to a lake because they didn't even know that Arizona has lakes, or something like that. So it never stops right at the transaction. And the moment it does, then it is a transaction and not a relationship. I build relationships, not transactions.
I love that. Well, it's interesting, and this is a really great segue to my next big question.
Mhm.
Although you're family oriented and in your business and you're relationship oriented, you have better systems than a lot of other real estate professionals, and a lot of people don't have the level of detail in their follow-ups and internal systems as you do. So I know you use Follow Up Boss as your CRM system, and
Mhm.
you have created a really interesting tag-based workflow to ensure that you don't miss a beat. So I was wondering if you just walk us through that entire system, because I think everyone listening has a CRM, but I think most people probably underutilize it, and probably use their systems to spam people more so than they do to remind them to do impactful touches.
Well, and you got to remember that leads don't die because they're bad leads, right? They die because they don't have good follow up, right? So having that CRM is, you can't be everywhere at all the time. So, and you can't be calling your clients all the time. So those systems become they can be problematic in your business, but if it's done right, they're generating and keeping you in front of your clients. So when we talk about follow up boss, if you don't have a CRM database, I always recommend doing it. And I'll just take it a step further. Every brokerage has their own CRM. So if you don't have the funding, there's a lot of these brokerages that actually deliver CRM. You just got to, I mean, utilize the internet, figure out how to work it, because it's easy and it's not as overwhelming as some people might think. But
And we always say the best CRM is the one that you use. Like everyone always thinks the one their broker gives them is garbage. They're all fine, and Excel list is fine. Just use something.
yes, and as an independent person, what I've done is I've switched a couple of different brokerages, but I've learned in the past that I own two things in my career. I own my own website and I own my own CRM database. And that allows me not to be attached to a brokerage from here on out. I can pick up my business and go anywhere I want to, and it doesn't impact me whatsoever. So there's that NOMA too, that I don't want to use their CRM because then they're going to take all of my information. Well, then pay for your own. If you have the ability, I'm always going to encourage any individual agent, because it's your business, right? And if it's your business, then you should own it, because then nobody owns you. That's it. So, but when we're doing this, every lead that comes in is going to get a tag. Every tag triggers some kind of specific action plan, so nobody falls through the cracks when it comes in. So we have systems that work for the buyers. We also have systems that work for sellers. And each one of them, there's some crossover that's mirrored the same. And then there's other things that are clearly different, right? So let's kind of go through like what I do for the buyers. Like when we first get buyers that come in, they're going to immediately get a phone call, a text, an email, any lead that comes in, right? So we're going to try to make rapport as quickly as we can. We're going to set up the property searches that we can do, and we're going to set up a discovery consultation or a buyer consultation with them. That kind of sets the tone of here's what it's going to look like from the time that you're buying a home till the closing. Now, a lot of time it does sound like or feels like you're drinking from a water hose to some of these buyers. So make sure you're a little gentle and see where they're at in there. You're not trying to scare them, but you're trying to lead with value. So we want to set ourselves apart than any other agent out there, right? So we are literally going to handhold, if they need to, first-time home buyers all the way up to investors. So investors, hey, just give me a list of these ones that fit my criteria. This is what I can buy, right? So when we do these action plans and everything, so they'll first start out as an active buyer, so which means that they're going to have their weekly check-ins, which means that they're going to have their home searches. We're going to have financial updates just in case anything changes or we need changes with the buyers. And then we're just going to provide that marketing education because it's ever changing every week, right? So, and then we're getting them to go visit homes, but we're being more strategic. The last thing I want to do is show them 25 different homes. If you do your job right, you should have 5 to 10 max that you're showing because you weeded out everything else. You were looking for the cream of the crop and effectively working based on that consultation to go drive that client like, I just found you the Mac Daddy best home based on all your parameters. We need to go check it out. We have 3 of them. You know, how exciting in this instead of like, okay, we'll go set up showings for tomorrow, right? It's based on how you interject with that buyer and listening to them, that if you can weed out all the other homes, don't show them because they don't make sense for the buyer. And all you're doing is wasting your time. In my opinion, you're just confusing the buyer and you're allowing more options. Ever seen House Hunters? You know, so it's like you get 3 homes, you know, like I'm going to do all my due diligence for you. Which one do you want to go with? Right? So it streamlines the process for the buyer and it also streamlines it for me. And then using that database system, it takes them from looking at the properties to being under contract, right? So once under contract, we get the buyer under contract, then in our database system, it's going to trigger another set of tasks to do. So again, all these are systematics. Now they're triggered and it says the stage is buyers under contract. So which means now we're sending out reminders that says, here's the inspection period. Here's when your inspection is going to be there. This is what time you need to show up. So that morning, it's going to send them a reminder, you know, meet us at the house for the final inspection. It's going to walk them through any kind of loan milestones that we're in. So obviously there's contingencies on everybody's deal. So walks them through everything that they need to be doing. Then we set up the appraisal, make sure we get through the big deals, the inspections and the appraisals, right? Through there, make sure that we're sending them, here's my contact for home insurance, you know, call him for a quote, make sure that your utilities are set up. We have a concierge service. So here's the email, click this, and they'll help set up all of your utilities for you. And then here is moving resources, you know, so there's a moving resource on my website that has a bunch of different movers, how to pack, what to look for, blah, blah, blah. So that all happens in the under contract stage, right? Then as they progress into the closed and we've closed them, well, now it's making sure that throughout that transaction, we're listening to the buyers, right? So we know birthdays, anniversaries, special little notes. Make sure you're writing that into your database. All this stuff makes sense. So at the end, it's tagging them that it's closed, but every single one of our deal, it also sets up that if we close any deal within the year, automatically in January, buyer or seller, that triggers that the Alta statements are automatically sent to the buyer. Hey, congratulations on your sale. Don't forget, here's in case you misplaced it, here's the Alta statement for you. Be sure to turn it into your to your tax accountant or whomever to make sure any kind of write-offs that you're utilizing them, right? And then we're also staying in touch with quarterly touches on them, anything that's fun going on in the market. We're asking for referrals, right? So is there anybody else that could help that I could help get into a home? Because they think you're up on a pedestal, right? You've done your deal for them. Utilize these should all be tags within Follow Up Boss. And then we also utilize it for invitations, like mass invitations for our annual Christmas parties and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, you said so many things that I feel like I want to unpack really quick before we move on. Like, number one is that you have different tags or groups, categories, however you want to call that, for different types of people in your database. And I think that's step number one, because so many real estate professionals out there only have like one group, and then you're not able to effectively communicate anything of value because you're sending the same messages to everyone. And people are at vastly different places in their home buying journey. And then the second thing is that you're not just using the system to send out like mass emails and mass communication. A lot of it is to send out reminders to you, like tasks to do something, to make a call, to do something. I think that's a really underutilized feature that most CRMs have, that most agents just don't think of. They think this is a system to send out emails, and they can do so much more than that, which I love.
Well,
So
and here's another thing. You got to remember that you can't rely, or at least I don't rely on my memory. I rely on systems, because you can scale a system, right? But my memory fails. So you just got to know that we scale systems and we use them. Don't rely on your memories, because memories fail. You need.
well, and like let's face it, like we're in a world of AI now. Like I took our first call that we had, and although like you were memorable, I recorded the call with AI because I didn't want to forget anything. And so today, right before we hopped on, I pulled up my CRM system. I looked at my notes on Susan. I now all of a sudden remember you went on vacation recently somewhere, and I can start and build and get our rapport back faster because of the notes that I had. And I think the more you can use tools to ensure that the data in your system is good and it's not just name, email address, phone number, you can do better with it. And speaking of doing better with it, we talked before and you had mentioned that you win every listing appointment, which is it's a pretty big statement, but you're not bringing in, hundreds of printouts to try to woo them or bore them half to death. What's your listing process, and how are you winning such a high percentage of these deals?
Well, let's be honest. I've never won a listing appointment because my fancy binder. Okay. So it's all
Yeah,
about.
agents spend like hours and hours like trying to like go on Canva and make these like clip art presentations, and I
Well,
don't
and
get it. And
here's
all these brokerages like talk
did
about how
that.
great their 25-step listing presentation is.
But I did that as a new agent. I did do that because I didn't know any better. Nobody was really kind of, handheld holding me going. I mean, they'd make comments going, that's really cool. I don't know if you'll need it. So over the years, I just know that people don't hire presentations. Okay. People don't hire presentations. They hire people. So they're hiring me. So when we go into any kind of when I take any kind of listing calls, here's the thing that happens. I'm building rapport before I even get to the house, because I'm trying to learn about them, because they're going to hire me. They're not going to hire whatever I bring to that listing appointment. Okay. So that's tools I use to make me look good, but ultimately I consider it what I call a marriage agreement. And the reason why is because they need to know, like, and trust you. And guess what? They're going to be hooked to me for at least 6 months. So you better know, they better like me, and vice versa. It's my turn to interview them too. Do I want to be hooked to them? Do I want to be married to them for the next 6 months? I don't know. And no amount of commissions are worth being married to, having a horrible marriage, right? So when I go up and I do this and I have these conversations that are very personable to get to know them, then I usually follow up, because I'm a huge coffee drinker. Now everybody's a little bit different. I'm a huge coffee drinker, so I'll say, "Hey, we're going to do the meeting at 9 o'clock. So now I've got a personal question." And they're like, "What? Do you drink coffee?" They're like, some people are yes, some people are no. But then I'll be like, "Yeah, because if I come over, let's have coffee first, and then we're going to discuss all this." And whether it's a male or a female, I literally have people going, "Well, what's your favorite coffee?" And I was like, "Well, I like hazelnut iced tea," or not iced tea, but I like iced tea, or I like hazelnut coffee, or whatever it is. I literally, before I've even hit the front door to give a presentation. I have sellers going, well, you know what? I'll go out and get you some hazelnut creamer, Susie, or I'll go get you some iced tea, or you know what? I'll stop by Starbucks and I'll go get us something so it's here at the house. Guys, I haven't even stepped foot in to the listing yet.
And they're buying you a coffee.
And they're buying me a coffee. So, I mean, do you think I'm going to walk out with a listing? Yeah, unless I'm super stupid in there or do something stupid. But this is the conversation because, again, they're hiring you. They want to know because just like we always say, hey, we're going to open houses and we're meeting all these strangers and we don't know anything about them. It's the same thing for listings, guys. There's so many people going, I could be there, and give you a listing, but they don't know crap about you unless they do a little research. I take that whole thing off on that first consultation phone call. They know a lot about me. And for somebody to invest in me before I've even told them what I'm capable of doing,
it's huge. I think so many realtors like miss out on that crucial step of like explaining to clients that before you even get into the listing presentation, you want to actually get to know them and have a conversation and have that heart to heart chat. Because then the more you can get them even talking about themselves, the more they feel valued in that conversation. But once they go to that second step and they start asking you questions about you, that's when you know you have them. Susan, I absolutely love that. Let's talk about relocation. So you're in Arizona. There's a lot of snowbirds who relocate down there. There's a lot of people who are there part of the year. How have you been getting so much business in the relocation world?
well, let's put it out there here. So Arizona is not just a move; it's a lifestyle adjustment, right? So, and a lot of people that come to Arizona, they think, "Oh, it's sun and fun," and so I have created. My social media has a lot of stuff that is created that's based around questions that people would have just moving in here, right? So, a lot of times I get to direct some of the people that relocate, like why are school systems year round? What does that even look like? And that's a huge thing for some of the families that come in here. Differences between like Gilbert and Chandler, or Scottsdale and Phoenix, or where can I get 500,000? Where's the best place to get a home for 500,000? Or what is an HOA? Because we have tons of HOAs around here, right? What does that look like for the consumer? So it's making and setting all of that in my social media that is really educating people. And that's how I get a lot of relocations, because they're like, hey, I saw your listing for new builds, or I saw your social media for what I could get for 500,000 that's over in Queen Creek. That looks amazing, right? So, but most agents is what I'll always say is that most agents help people buy houses. I help people move in their life. Okay. So, whatever their life is, if it's over in this state, I help them transition over to Arizona. And that is from start to finish. So, but the key element is in these things, you are the number one person that knows your state, and more importantly, the area probably that you're selling homes into. So for me, I am, remember the Bermudez family? I'm giving them a resource of everything that they need pursuant to who they are. If they're a single individual, if they're married, if they're a family, like whatever that element looks like, I am leaning into that. So when they move, it's a very smooth transition, but it becomes fun. It's not so stressful like everything is from moving from state to state, right? I make it as easy as possible, and through that whole transaction, I'm asking strategic questions. So if they have a family, right? Like, how many kids do you have? What are their names? Throughout the transaction, what do you guys like? What kind of restaurants? What kind of food do you guys like? Things like that are important, because when they move in, okay, which is a little bit different than a lot of people, but if you don't do this, I'm going to tell you to implement this in your business all the time, because as a family, I moved a couple of times, and we as families, you're always pushing through, right? You're pushing through to just get to the home. You've been traveling, you're hungry, your kids might need to use the bathroom or whatever it is, but you're exhausted, right? To get to there. Well, then they come to the home and they meet me. So when they're there, I already have the fridge stocked. with food, stuff that they like for sandwiches, whether they're coming in the afternoon or or during breakfast time, whatever. It's already stocked, guys. I also have waters. I have Gatorades or juice boxes for the kids, whatever it needs for the family element. And then I'm also stacking up on the counter. It is paper towels, paper plates, paper silverware, dish soap, hand soap, garbage bags, Kleenex, toilet paper.
All the things that like people don't think of when they're planning their move, right? Like it's like all of that stuff is like taken for granted as an afterthought, and they're scheduling movers and doing all this stuff, but then they forget that they will actually have to use the bathroom on that first couple hours in the house.
Well, and like you say, I mean, the last thing they want to do is when they get to the house is go hunt for the toilet paper that might be in the back of the U-Haul or somewhere typed away. Or,
Or the like the disgusting roll that's been sitting there for like 6 months while the house was selling. Like I'm all set on that.
and you got to understand people. So as much as we're transitioning people and we're doing all these great things, so you could have saved him like $20,000 in negotiating things for your buyers, right? So nobody remembers that towards the end of the transaction or at the end when they're there. But let me tell you what they do remember. They remember that you had cold drinks in the fridge that were waiting for them. They remember the custom water bottles that I made for their kids that were all filled up. They remember I have their favorite cocktails that were on, the wine that was chilled, or the drinks that were already poured when they get in the door because they like their bourbon or whatever that is. That's it. You're creating these experiences that create stories, right? And stories create the referrals because they're walking billboard, guys. They're
Well, at the
walking
end of the day,
billboard.
too, like a lot of the times, like buying a house kind of sucks. It's like stressful, it's hard, it's expensive. And the realtor has so many opportunities to make it a memorable journey, but also to really craft that experience and ensure it doesn't go the other way. The last thing I wanted to ask you about, Susan, and this was really interesting, you mentioned something to me that when you work on new builds, you invite like every builder and tradesperson involved to the home afterwards. And I'd love to hear about why you do that and kind of what that's led to in your business.
So a lot of times the new builds, that I work with, it's about, we have a ton of new builders out here. So how do you make that rapport and that relationship with them? Because there's a lot of times they'll say you need to bring your client in and sign them at the very first, or you don't get paid. Okay, pretty standard around here. But when you build a rapport in a business because you're taking care of them, they're no different than another client. They're salespeople within the office, right? So, and then there's workers involved. So, as I transition through this, I'm looking through walkthroughs, all this stuff. I'm getting to know the crew. So, at the end, there's more than just my buyer and me. There's the salespeople in the office. There's the project managers. There's the people that have worked onto the house. So I come together because it is more important for my buyer to know all the people that worked on their brand new home, right? So I get this a lot where I have these, when they come in, it's a big celebration, right? So I provide the food and the this, that, whatever. It's already on there. So when the staff comes in, meaning the salespeople, a lot of times I'll get going, Susie, this is the first time I've ever seen a realtor do something like that. More importantly, invite us. And I was like, well, you guys are the ones that worked on it. You and hate to say, if they need help before, I want you to get to know my clients because you're the person they're going to call that's going to come in and fix the items, right? So you're making that connection and it made a lot easier. Like here's the person that we spoke to in the office, right? So they have a smoother transition going back to that sales office should they have a problem, or contacting the general contractor or the sub that's going to be managing the subdivision while they're still there in their 1 year walkthrough. So, but when we do this, guys, not only are you impressing your buyers and you're impressing the entire team, which I also get from project managers to this going, wait, you bought food for us? And I was like, well, 100%. Take a break. We're going to come in 15 minutes. We've got, pizza, or we've got sub sandwiches, or this, that, whatever, and get to meet. I want you to meet the buyer, so they feel friendly. You know who they are. They know who you are, and vice versa. It's a missed opportunity. And it's in real estate, it's all about opportunities. How do you create that opportunity for yourself? Because not only is the buyer like, wow, now you've got the salespeople that are wow, you've got the staff that are wow. And even though they work for, a builder, they will still call me going, "Hey, Susie, I have a friend and I've gotten a referral from this, and it's from one of the contractors that said I've got a friend and I was telling them about you. Like this is what you did. They need help, getting a home." I'm
And
like,
like really, the best agents use every single transaction as ammunition to pick up future clients and future transactions. And when you think about the build process and all of the many people that are involved, you'd be crazy not to use that as a way to add 10 new people to your database. And also, like when you talk to all these realtors and they say, hey, I want to grow my builder business, the best way to do that is to talk to people that are involved in the building process because so many of them do it for 2 years working for someone else and then they splinter off and do their own thing. I mean, like,
and
there's so many reasons that this works. You
Mhm.
just have to start somewhere and put like an actual plan together for how you're going to go after it.
And since I'm there from all the times during the inspections, guess what? I get to know some of the subs. And hey, I'm putting them in my pocket, people, because if there is people that I need for drywall or this or that, and I see that they're doing a fantastic job, hey, I might have a side job. Could you do side jobs? Can I get your name and contact information put in my database? So I'm building my own business of contractors, right?
I love
So,
that.
and suppliers, and that's what you should be doing. So, I mean, real estate's a business. It's not a job. It's a business. So you're creating that business everywhere you go. So don't just stop a transaction. A transaction is relationships, and every single one of them that you're building, whether it's new build, it's buyers, it's sellers. How are you building those relationships? Because those ultimately are singing and walking billboards all throughout Phoenix saying my name.
I
And
love
I
that.
didn't do anything. I just gave them great service.
So, Susan, if someone clearly you know everyone in town, you have a person for everything. A lot of people probably want to join the family. If someone has a client moving to the greater Phoenix area or has a question about the market, how would they get a hold of you?
Well, I'm all over social media, so you can
As in, like, if they
Google.
can't find you, they're probably not looking hard enough.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm known as Susan Bermudez Real Estate Gal. So if you Google Susan Bermudez Real Estate Gal, you'll see me and my stuff all over the place. And obviously, we'll probably have contact information down here. So it's Susan Bermudez at the SB Property Team. And email Susan at SB Property Team. And my phone number is 480-631-9498. That's my direct line. So we've got a team over here. I've got another business partner in here. I've got a full-time TC. We kind of work together and build these systems. But here's the kicker. If anybody wants to have it, now, if you currently have Follow Up Boss, it allows us to share our stages and things like that we do in our templates directly with someone. So if you're out there and you're like, I was a little overwhelmed, I'll be honest with you that one of my business partners made, I knew exactly what I wanted. I just needed her to make it. Now, Follow Up Boss has done in the last 30 days some additional upgrades to their system to help these tags and systems flow a little bit better. So if anybody's out there and you want it, hey, I'm all about helping us. I mean, we're out there in the trenches, and anything we can do to help other people become successful, I'm in for it. I mean, the worst thing I hate in our industry is what we call, agents running naked with scissors. It's very dangerous because it's dangerous to us because we have to deal with them. So it, I don't care. Let me educate. And
Let's all do better together.
any successful agent should be willing to work with other people and make them better. What does it matter? You're building our pool of colleagues smarter and better. Is that a bad
I
thing?
love that. Susan, thank you so much for your time today. I couldn't appreciate it more.
Yes, you're welcome. Thanks so much. Have a great day.